to tell me stories about them. I'm not being vague for the sake of being vague here. They don't have a name. Or at least, my mom never gave them a name. The only way to tell them apart from the regular boogeymen haunting my dreams was the fact that they came in threes. When I was still very young, probably too young to hear about it, she told me this story, and now I'm sharing it with you. My mom was 9 when it happened. She woke up from a nightmare in the middle of the night. Something, she couldn't remember what exactly, drew her attention to the window. She pulled the blinds apart and looked out into the street. There was a ditch across the road where the rainwater would collect. She and her sister used to play there all the time. As she was looking at it, she saw something standing on the other side of it. She never gave me a full description of what it looked like. She just said it was like a moving shadow. But the thought alone was enough to give me goosebumps every time she told the story. I had imagined this giant silhouette with tendrils of smoke coming out, sharp fangs snapping open and closed, and bright red eyes. If you leave a monster to a child's imagination, it'll always become scarier somehow. "What did you do?" I asked her. "Nothing," she replied. "I just watched it." And it just watched me. That was something else I found terrifying about it. It didn't just go up to her and try to eat her. It was biding its time for some reason, waiting for something, but I'd never know what. She woke her sister up, but by the time she dragged her to the window, the figure was gone. Her sister got annoyed at her and went back to bed. My mother spent the rest of the night tossing and turning in bed, looking out the window to the empty road. A few nights later, the same thing happened, except this time, there were 2 figures, and they were standing on the other side of the ditch, closer to the road. This time, they weren't content to just stand there and watch. They tilted their heads side to side. I imagined jagged little movements, like hands on a clock, as they tilted back and forth. Again, by the time my mom woke her sister up, they were gone. Another few nights passed, and she woke up again. You probably know where I'm going with this by now. There were 3 figures outside, and they got in even closer. They were right by the road and slowly walking across it. She said they were so close to one another that she wasn't sure where one began and the other ended, but she was sure there were 3 of them, 3 heads, 3 creatures. They kept walking closer and closer, and she screamed for bloody murder. Her sister turned on the bedroom light, and the creatures disappeared. The very next night, she woke up but refused to look out the window. She hid her head under the pillow and started singing a nursery rhyme to herself, hoping to keep her thoughts away from the 3 outside. Just when she thought she couldn't get more terrified, she heard scratching at the window. She peeked at it and saw long, thin shadows cast against the white blinds, slowly moving up and down as they scratched along the glass. She started crying and tossed her pillow at the window. Thankfully, that seemed to be enough to drive them away. On the last night, she slept in her sister's room. It was the weekend, so her parents were fine with them having a sleepover. She couldn't sleep that night. Too afraid of the creature she'd seen outside her window, she thought she'd be safe with her sister, but in the middle of the night, she heard a scream coming from her bedroom. Her parents made it there before her, and her mom quickly covered her eyes and whisked her away as her father fell to his knees. She never knew exactly what happened to her sister, only that she was never seen again. "But Mom," I remembered saying, "Auntie Maggie is still alive." She smiled grimly. I couldn't understand why. I was still too young. It wasn't until I cleaned out her attic yesterday and found an old photo album that I finally understood. There was a photo of her parents, Aunt Maggie, her, and a third little girl I've never seen before.